All right guys, welcome back to Mr. Post Frame. Today is going to be part 3 of our interior framing. We're going to cover laying out our walls, framing them, securing them to the concrete. But before we get started, don't forget, if you want to design a Barndominium post frame building, reach out to us, Design Mr. Post Frame. We can help you out with that. We have a great process. Also, for you self-builders, we have a Patreon group that's awesome. It's a group of other self-builders. We share each other's journey. We talk about different building topics. We have lives every month. Check that out. But let's go ahead and get started on the interior framing. I'm going to start framing walls, and what I like to do is start with my long walls. So this wall here goes all the way across, and so what I did is I measured from that corner to where the wall is, that corner to where the wall is, and then I used a laser to make sure this was square, which it was. So once I knew the marks were square, put my laser across, marked my walls. I always put an X on the side that the wall goes, so when I stand it up, all I gotta do is line that edge up and nail it. It's quick and easy. And then I also go along all my ceiling joists and mark, so when I stand that wall, I know where that line is. So the next thing I do is I go to my plans and I look where anywhere there's a wall intersecting this wall. So if you walk along here, you see there's a wall intersecting here. I mark it because when I come across here, I want to make sure I have proper framing so I'm not cutting stuff out. So I got that marked, come across here, got another one, got a door opening here, another wall there, so on and so forth. Now I got my bottom plate laid out. I'll mark my bottom plate, put my top plate next to it, transfer all the marks, and then I'll start cutting all of my studs. So that's kind of where we're at. You see I have this side all marked. So now I'll mark this out. I'm going to pull 16s from that side going this way. So I'm going to start marking all this out, then I'll get my top plate laid out, and then we'll go from there. All right, so I have the top and bottom plate all laid out. So when you're building on a slab, you have to be very careful, especially if it's a 2-story. This is a single story, to make sure all of your studs are exactly the same length. The concrete is not going to be perfectly level. You're probably going to get a 1/4 inch variance across there. So on a 2-story, what I do is I'll go with my laser and I'll hit every spot and I'll write the plus or minus it is from my starting point. That way when I put my top plate on, it is perfectly level. Then when I run my floor joist and floor, it is perfect. This is a single story, so it's not as important. However, you do want to measure in a few spots. Typically, along the walls of a building when they pour concrete, typically those are going to be higher a little bit. And then in the center, it can be just a touch lower. It looks like I'm about a 1/4 inch, I have about a 1/4 inch variance across here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my lowest measurement, and that is the longest I'm going to cut my studs. That way when I put my top plate, I have room to slide in there. In this case, I'm doing a double top plate because I like to lock my walls together. Plus it gives the drywallers more room. You could technically do a single top plate on a single story post frame because it's not load bearing. However, I like to do double top plates. So I'm gonna have to subtract 4.5 inches from 12 feet. So if I just did that and cut them all that, and I have a high spot in my concrete where it's not 12 feet, I'm not gonna be able to get my top plate in there. Or, you know, some guys will take a chalk line and run it across the top from one side to the other, and then they just touch their stud to it. But I'm pretty confident I'm just going to find my highest point of concrete and then base all my cut lengths off of that. All right, so I'll show you my math here. I measured on each side and a few spots in the middle. My highest concrete was 3/8 high. So if I take 143 and 5/8 and I minus 4.5.
Here's what I found.
For one bottom plate, 2 top plates, that's 139 1/8. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna cut all of my studs 139. And that makes it nice and simple. And then I should be able to get my top plate in there, no problem. 139. All right, you can see we have all of the studs cut, laid out. Got my first section of wall nailed together. Now this is 14-foot wall section and it's 12 feet tall. I'm not 100% sure how this is gonna go. I did put a couple blocks off the bottom cord of the truss so the wall can't tip this way. I got an outrigger ready to go. Another one there so that I can brace this end of the wall because it's probably gonna be pretty wobbly. So, I guess let's see how this goes. Never done a 12-foot wall but by myself, done plenty of 10s and stuff like that, but not 100% sure. Son of a gun. Can't get it. That's problematic. All right, so now that all the interior girts are up, I'm gonna start laying out walls. I will come back and block in these windows, but I wanna get all the walls and stuff up first, and then I'll kind of take care of all that little stuff at the end. You can definitely do that now, but what I'm gonna do is, this house in particular, I already have a wall up, and I did that before I got the girts done because they wanted to get their electrical box in, so I figured I'd just build that whole wall because that's the wall it went on. So there's 2 bedrooms, a bathroom on that side, then an open area, and then there's the master, pantry, bathroom, laundry on this side. So what I'm gonna do is, there is a long wall that goes from this side wall all the way over to this side wall. So what I did, it was 20 foot 1 inches from the outside corner of the building. And this only works if your building's perfectly square. So what I did is I measured from that corner over, and from that corner over, and then I measured off that wall on each side and measured back to make sure I was even. It's more important to me, it's not uncommon for you to be off a 1/4 inch, 1/8 inch, but it's important to me that this center section is what's perfectly square. Nobody's gonna see a 1/4 inch in that corner, so on and so forth. And it's most important to me that all of the corners where cabinets and stuff like that are perfectly square. So we were right on the money on this, so start getting this long wall up. And once the long wall's up, then I will build off of that, squaring those walls off of this wall that goes from sidewall to sidewall. So, you know, I always like to pick the bigger wall first, just because it's a lot easier to piece in small sections than it is great big sections. So I'll show you the plans, and then we'll get going here. So this is the wall right here that I'm gonna build. As you can see, it goes from one side all the way to the other side. You'll have to look at your plans to see where dimensions are pulled from, to make sure you know that you're measuring right. But we'll go ahead and lay this whole wall out. And like I said, I have built this 2x6 wall. So I measured from this corner to here, that corner to here, and then I checked it from this wall to there to make sure that we were good and make sure I didn't have to do any adjusting. When I built this first wall, which I showed you, I measured off these corners. And this building is really, really square. So, I mean, we're dealing with like an 1/8 inch is all, that this was off from here to here, from here to here. So we are good to go. These are all 2x4 walls. These are all 2x4 walls. This was a 2x6, and those are 2x4. So today's goal, I'm gonna get this wall built, and then I'm gonna mark all these other walls out and start getting those up. The thing I will have to think about is these are 12 foot tall. So I gotta think about, I have to have enough room to raise these. Otherwise I'm gonna have to build them in place. And I'm sure I'm gonna run into that, but if I have to build one in place, I'd rather it be one of these short ones like here. Step 1 was to mark out my wall. Step 2 is going to be to pull a chalk line. All right, now that I got that, I'm gonna get my green line laser out. I'm gonna set it in the middle, make sure it matches left and right, and then it's gonna cast lines up here on my ceiling, and I'm gonna mark those. That way when I build my wall and stand it up, all I have to do is match up the edge of the wall with that line, and I'm good to go. I got my bottom plate marked out. I pulled 16s from that wall. And what I like to do through the whole house, I will pull 16s from that side on walls that run sidewall to sidewall. I like to pull it from the same side. It's just something I like to do. Then all the studs line up throughout the house. Now I got my top plate laid there. I'm gonna take my square and I'll transfer all those lines across. Once I do that, then I'll go to the plans, look at where doors intersect, where walls intersect, and I'll add those pieces in. So little fun fact, a square is 7 inches, so it can go across two 2x4s, and then they make a bigger square that will go across two 2x6s for when you're doing a 2x6 wall. So if you didn't know that, that's why these are the length that they are. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna find these door locations and I'm gonna mark them on my boards, and then also where walls tie in. So I can put a proper board so this wall can tie in and I can have nailers on both sides. So rough opening is 3x7. That's easy enough. So 3x7, and the inside edge of the door is 3 foot 6.5 off the post, or 3 foot 5 off the girt. I'm just gonna use 3 foot 5. 3 foot 5. 3. So that will be king and a jack. These will be cripples up above the door. And then it's a 36-inch rough opening. So that's right to there. Inch and a half and 3. So this is going to be a king. This will be a jack. It's about right at 12 feet. Edges were about a 1/4 inch short of 12 feet, so we'll cut all of these 139, I think. So 144 is 12 feet. If I give myself a 1/2 inch, that's 143 and a half. I have 3 plates, so that's 4 and a half. That's 0, so that's 139. And that'll give me like a 1/4 inch play everywhere. That way I can cut them all the same length. And so I can cut these all the same, so I can just kind of mass produce them. But what we'll do is as I'm cutting these, I'll crown them, and I always put the crown up, that way all the crowns of the boards are all facing the same way. And with the crown up, when you have them laying on the floor, both ends are usually on the floor. I mean, you shouldn't have that bad of a crown, but 12-foot board, I'm assuming there's gonna be a little bit, so. And with like 8-foot walls, and not even 9-foot walls are really not bad. These are 12-foot. So I'm gonna go up there where I marked my ceiling joist, and I'm gonna put a little block up there. So when I lift this wall, it can't go past and like tip over the other way. So I do have an extra person today, but this will help out in letting the wall go too far. If I get my square, alright guys, so we have this wall stood up, and now we're going to go ahead and put anchors. I use these redhead concrete anchors. And you got the bolt, you got a washer, and you got a nut. So you just put the nut on until it's flush with the top, drill your hole, hammer down in there, and then tighten it. And I put these on each side of a doorway, and then every about 4 to 6 feet. I mean, it ends up usually being more like 4, because if you have doorways, I like to put them on both sides so it makes that good and stiff. So we're gonna go ahead and get this wall all secured and all fastened in, and then we'll add another wall onto it. One thing you wanna watch out for is where you have a relief cut. We did diagonal, so if I was to drill that right on there, it would break it out too much, and then this wouldn't actually grab. So if I see that, I'm gonna move it either to one side or the other. I'm using this DeWalt driver. It's a 1/2-inch driver, and you want to definitely turn the power down, because if you put it on high speed, these things have so much torque that it'll actually run the bolt or the nut down and suck the bolt out if you keep going. So I always run this on 2. So here you can see my guide. I know exactly where it needs to be so I don't over drill into the concrete. And that way I know we run 5-inch slabs. Our radiant tubes are at the bottom. So we have 2 to 3 inches of concrete between the bottom of this and our tube. So there's no danger in hitting your tube. So that's why I use this guide, and then kind of really don't have to think about it. Alright guys, so we just built this wall right here, and the next one I'm going to build is this one right here, along here. It's another long one. I'm going to go ahead and knock that out, and then I can add all these smaller walls later. And if you look here, it's 7'10" from the inside edge of this wall to the inside of this. So what I'm going to do is measure 7'10" at each end, snap a line, put my laser up, mark the ceiling, and then we'll build this one. 7'10". All right, so I got it where I want it now. So now I'm going to mark all of the wall girts and the ceiling joists. So again, when I stand this wall up, there's no thinking. I can just line up the lines and go, and then we'll snap our line and start building this wall. Can't do this in stick frame. All right guys, so we have our bottom and top plates laid out, and the thing that's awesome about this is there's a wall that comes across here, hallway lines up, this closet wall lines up, this wall lines up, and this doorway lines up. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take this bottom plate over against that, and I'm going to transfer all those stud marks and everything to this, and I won't even have to measure. All right, so we have all these walls framed up over here. I haven't done the door openings yet. I will get to those, but the client's thinking about exposed ductwork, so I'll have to frame above the doors a little bit different if they choose that. But I'm gonna go ahead and get all the bottom plates secured, locked down. This is pretty cool because that's the master bedroom over here. You walk into the bathroom, they're gonna have a big tub, walk-in shower, toilet room, sinks. Then you walk into their closet, but then from their closet you can go into their laundry room and out into the main area. So that's pretty awesome as well. We're gonna go ahead and get all these fastened down. And then I got 2 walls here to frame up, and then this whole side will be done. All right, so we have all of the walls up over here, and now we have to deal with these 2 bedrooms and bathroom over here. We're gonna lay this wall out here. There's a wall that goes 40 foot somewhere in here, all the way over there, and then there's a bedroom on each side and a bathroom. There's a little hallway. So I know that wall is square and that wall is square, so I'm just gonna pull a tape off each corner, mark it, and then I'll check off the other wall to make sure we're pretty close. 4.5, 22, 4.5. What we will do now is we'll snap a line across here, lay out our bottom and top plates, and actually I will just probably put them up against this side over here and transfer all the 16-inch marks, and then I'll add in the doorways, tie-in walls, stuff like that. That went pretty fast, Justin. Only if that was it. All right, we got this all up, so we'll go through, put our anchors in the floor, and then we'll get this a little more secured. Where we had different sections, we'll just get them tied together, and then we'll go on to another wall inside. Alright guys, so we have all of the walls pretty much done in the main house. We have this 40-foot wall across that separates the garage and the house, and then 2 short walls, and we'll have all the walls up. Alright guys, a couple quick tips when you are nailing your walls is make sure you keep your hand back when you're going to nail. A lot of times what I'll do, let me see if I find an easier one here in the middle. I'll grab the board like this, move it into place, line it up and nail the bottom where my fingers aren't, and then come back. Or you got to make sure you hold back here, because a lot of times those nails, not a lot of times, sometimes the nails will come in and they'll take the grain and come out the side. So if you're holding it like this, nailing at the top, you could run a nail into your hand. So just be cognizant of that, to keep your hand back. And if you're gonna hold up here, hold up high, nail the bottom, and then release and nail the top. Alright, so we got a little bit of a problem here. Framing up my walls, and there is a tub shower right here that is 60 inches, and you can see where my wall is going to tie into, and the plumbing is well outside of that. So it is about 12 inches too far that way. So I talked to the owners, and my solution is that we just shift the shower that way 12 inches, build just a false wall right here, and then their cabinets that are going to be right here are just going to have to be smaller. That is the only solution at this point, being that this is a slab. This is why if you're doing your own plumbing, you should triple check to make sure it's coming up in the right spot. I'm sure it was an honest mistake, but say this would have been a wall here, this could have been a real problem. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to shift this over. It is just one of those things that we have to do, and go from there. Alright guys, that's going to be a wrap on part 3. That was framing the walls. Hopefully you guys found something useful out of that. Part 4 is going to be the ladders that we put above our walls for drywall nailers. It's going to be a tray ceiling, going to be some blocking, and just a lot of detail work when you're doing interior framing. So hopefully you guys will come back for that. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, share us with your friends, and we will catch you on the next video.